you and me and the universe and the earth, that presupposes by necessity that there has always been something, and that something is God, the eternal God. Isaiah 43, verse 10, God says, "Before me there was no God formed, and there will be none after me." No God preceded God, nothing preceded God, and nothing will follow him as well. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. A.W. Pink has written a marvelous book called The Attributes of God, and in that book, Pink writes, "There was a time, if time it could be called, when God in the unity of his nature, though subsisting equally in three divine persons, dwelt all alone. In the beginning, God. There was no heaven, where his glory is now particularly manifested. There was no earth to engage his attention. There were no angels to hymn his praises, no universe to be upheld by the word of his power. There was nothing, no one but God, and that not for a day, a year, or an age, but from everlasting. During a past eternity, God was alone, self-contained, self-sufficient, self-satisfied, in need of nothing. Had a universe, had angels, had human beings been necessary to him in any way, they also had been called into existence from all eternity. The creating of them, when he did, added nothing to God essentially. He changes not. Therefore, his essential glory can be neither augmented nor diminished. Now listen to this. Pink concludes, God was under no constraint, no obligation, no necessity to create. That he chose to do so was purely a sovereign act on his part, caused by nothing outside of himself, determined by nothing but his own mere good pleasure. For he works all things after the counsel of his will. That he did create, Pink writes, was simply for his manifested glory. Close quote. We feel overwhelmed by thoughts like this, and that is a good place to be. It produces humility within us to think of the vastness and the greatness of our God, who has always existed and yet chose to create time and creation and the universe and even us. The more we contemplate the majesty and the greatness and the grandeur of our God, the more it humbles us. And God gives grace to the humble, does he not? God gives strength to those who are weak. This is a good place for us to be, under the shadow of the Almighty. Revelation 4, verse 8, he is the God who was, and who is to come. Isaiah 57:15, for thus says the high and exalted one who lives forever. Psalm 102:27, you are the same, and your years will not come to an end. Now this eternal God, as we have already said, is self-existent, meaning he is not dependent for anything or anyone outside of himself for his existence. God is not caused by anything outside of himself. He is not upheld by anyone outside of himself. He instead is the source and the cause of his own existence. God has all life in himself. And the basis of our life has been derived from God. John 1:4, concerning the Word, Christ. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. This life is all in God. And so therefore, our physical life is from him. Our spiritual life is from him. Our eternal life is from him. But he is this self-existent life. John 5, verse 26, the Father has life in himself. John 11:25, Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. John 14, verse 6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Romans 9, verse 26, he is the living God. Acts 17:28, it is in him that we live and move and have our being. God, who is life and has all life in himself, is self-sufficient in himself. It is important that we understand that God did not create us because God was lonely, because God had a need inside of him that was unmet by himself. God did not create us because there was a hole in his holiness, or he did not create the universe to fulfill some need that he had. No, God was and is all-sufficient in himself. He is in need of nothing outside of himself. Romans 11:34 says, for who has known the mind of the Lord, or who has been his counselor? God doesn't go to anyone for counseling. God is self-contained and self-sufficient in his own wisdom. We must seek him for counsel and wisdom. The next verse, verse 35, or who has first given to him that it might be paid back to him again? God is not obligated to anyone. God has never received something from someone that God therefore now is in an obligatory relationship that owes something back. No, God is